Hey guys, I'm Angus, and this is my review of Gravity. So, the story of Gravity is pretty simple. It's about a space engineer who is working for NASA, and she is on a first shuttle mission, and she is trying to fix one of the American space stations, and she is also with another engineer who is also played by George Clooney. So, the woman specifically on the mission is called Dr. Ryan Stone, and she is played by Sandra Bullock. So while the astronauts are on a spacewalk to fix the Hubble telescope, a mission control in Houston warns the team about a Russian missile has struck a satellite, and that has caused a reaction, which means there's loads of space debris. So they're warned that it could cause a lot of damage. So because she is really keen on fixing the Hubble telescope as it's her first mission, she sort of refuses to go in, so she sort of delays their time and chances to get inside the telescope, so the debris hits them and it knocks her off course, so she's spinning around, and then she has to eventually detach the belt, so she goes flying off in space. Now this happens on very early in the movie, and you can pretty much work out what is going to happen, but it's a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going to say what happens. Now, when I actually first saw the trailer for Gravity, it definitely put me off a lot because I couldn't understand how they made a film out of this. However, I still wanted to see it because I have seen a lot of trailers and underestimated the film. A perfect example is the film Flight. When I watched it, I definitely thought they wouldn't be able to make an actual good film about it, and it turned out to be brilliant. So I had high hopes for this film. Now, there are a lot of great things about this film, mostly in the visual effects, but there are also quite a few things that I really didn't like. So to start off with the really good points about this film, the visual effects were absolutely fantastic. I couldn't really understand how they made this film, so I did have a look at it, and I actually found out that a lot of the close-up shots were actually animated. Now that doesn't mean all the shots in this film are completely animated, but they have used animation instead of actually putting them in space. I was definitely excited about this film because it is a 3D exclusive. I couldn't find really any tickets to find this in 2D, so you sort of have to watch it in 3D, and it definitely does perform. It's absolutely brilliant. All the 3D visual effects, the shadows, the depth is absolutely brilliant. Now, while the 3D was absolutely brilliant and it fitted really well with being in space, I did find they really could have taken more advantage of the 3D, because the only times it was absolutely fantastic was bits like when there was water droplets floating around and there was other objects. I thought they could have done a lot more, so maybe they could have had spaceships floating in front of you and stuff like that. That doesn't mean that the 3D was just good for that. There was 3D really well for most and the majority of the film, but I thought they could have extended it a bit more. Now, while this is actually a really big film, the budget is $100 million. It didn't really have enough actors in it, and I found that really disappointing, even though you have got two Oscar award-winning actors, Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. While that didn't bother me too much in the film, I really thought they could have added more actors on such a huge budget. However, because of the budget is restricted on the actors, it did mean they could perform in a lot of other things like the visual effects, the sound editing, the sound mixing, and of course the scenery and the props. I found the storyline was quite weak. Now, even though it's quite interesting, I thought it was quite plain, and the overall concept just wasn't really good enough for me, because most of it's completely based in space and there's nothing really else to do with the film. If I wanted the film to be perfect for the storyline, I think they maybe could have added some scenes before maybe going up to the shuttle, or maybe some scenes after of what happens and stuff like that. Definitely the sound mixing and the sound editing is absolutely brilliant. Now, while most of the film does have a lot of quiet scenes because it is trying to promote how space doesn't have sound, it does take advantage of the vibrations, and it is absolutely brilliant and it is really fun to watch. After watching Gravity, I found that Robert Downey Jr. was casting to be the supporting role in this film, however he was replaced by George Clooney. A nice feature of this film was the music. As I said about the sound mixing and the sound editing, it did overlap this film nicely, and especially it was great in the end. Overall, I found Gravity to be a great film to watch for visual effects. However, if you're looking at it as a overall film, you might be disappointed because of the acting and the storyline, but generally I thought it was a really fun film to watch. Also, overall, the visual effects made the film stand out completely, and I thought that really performed in this film. I wouldn't be surprised if Gravity won an Oscar for the 2013 visual effects, because it is definitely the best visual effects film I've seen so far. Overall, I would give Gravity a 7.5 out of 10. If I wanted it to be better, I would want more actors, a better storyline, and also more scenes, because I found a lot of the time it dragged on a lot and a lot. However, it did make it a lot better with the visual effects. Anyway, that is my review of Gravity. If you did enjoy it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and thanks for watching.